Hey, this is Fury Spotlight, and my name is Ted Criticos. Today, my guest is Gabe Jimenez. Gabe is a guitarist for the Rambling Souls, a San Antonio-based rock and roll band. I'm a huge fan of their music, and Gabe also happens to be not only a Fury Golf customer, but an avid golfer and a single-digit handicap. So the guy knows his way around a course. In this conversation, we cover everything from the Rambling Souls, their music, their influences, to Gabe's favorite courses, his current golf setup, and really everything in between. Think you're really going to enjoy the listen. So thank you and enjoy. All right, we are live. Gabe, how you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. Excited to be chatting with you today.
My pleasure, brother.
So, for those who don't know, Gabe actually reached out to Fury Golf via Instagram, and we get a bunch of these, and I try to look at every single one because I think it's such a great way to meet people and then see what people are doing. So Gabe reached out, says he likes the brand, which I appreciate, but he also posted a link to his band. So I checked it out, and I fell in love with the music. I mean, it is right up my alley. So that's kind of what got me to reach back out to you, and here we are.
Right on, man.
Cool. So with that, tell us a little bit more about the Rambling Souls.
Well, we're a five-piece band, and here out of San Antonio, Texas. And our mission and our goal is to play some pretty kick-ass music, have a good time, and share it with everyone.
And how long you guys been together?
This summer will be 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, man. 2 years technically, considering this last year was pretty much a wash with the pandemic and all. But yeah, man, it's going on 3 years.
That's awesome. I mean, I checked out. Obviously, you guys are on Spotify. It's just the Rambling Souls, right, for everyone to be able to find it.
Yeah, just check any of the streaming platforms. Just search the Rambling Souls, and we should pop up.
Yeah, so I checked you out there, and they're two full albums already. So for 3 years, you guys are obviously working hard. It's great music. So how would you describe the sound to folks who might be new to the band? And would you say that that you guys have changed from album to album?
As far as the sound, it's pretty general and straightforward. At least for me, I like to call it just Texas rock. Right now, what's Texas rock? It's got the simple, just standout riffage, which basically kind of lends to, of course, the classic rock vibe, so to speak. And then it's got like a bit of a southern twist to it. So for bands like the Black Crows, so to speak, and some of our contemporaries, like the Rival Sons, it's got some definite blend of some killer intricate lead guitar work slash slide guitar slash harmonies. So it kind of encompasses it all. It's a really good blend, like a good cocktail.
Yeah, you mentioned the Rival Sons. I think I saw them. I think they opened for Ozzy when I went to see Ozzy a few years ago when he released 13.
Yeah.
And your sound, I mean, it's similar. You guys are obviously unique, but I'm like, yeah, this sounds like new, hard hitting rock and roll, Texas rock, and I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. Just like I love them. So it
Awesome,
really
man.
resonates with me then. So with that, I guess who are your influences? So you're lead guitar.
Well, we have my counterpart, Aaron Montano Teague. We kind of switch off the role, so to speak, and that's the real cool thing about being in a five-piece band with having a counterpart on guitar, because one of us can kind of express an idea a little differently, and sometimes kind of suits the cards a little bit better, especially when writing music, all original music. So it's a blend between the two of us, and it's something that's worked out, and the chemistry's there, and hopefully we can ride that wave a little bit longer.
Yeah, so I guess with that in mind, which of your songs would you say you've really put your stamp on as being the lead guitarist?
Well, I'd have to say there's a which was to be a single off the latest EP entitled Vices. There's a song on there called Last Call, which basically you can kind of get an idea, right?
I love that song, man. That's the
It's
first one. It's obviously the first one on the album, and that's the first one I clicked when you reached out to me. And,
awesome.
what a killer song, man! So I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, man, it was one of those where really talking about the sound you're saying as far as evolving from the first EP to the second, it was one of those things where I think it was a definite mesh of all of us creatively, kind of having taken, the show out on the road and checking out different markets and getting feedback for that matter. we were able to really kind of gel and mature to what it is in which we are now, which I think is definitely, like you said, a little bit more hard hidden, and it's root rock, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, I guess you have quite the guitar collection behind it.
Yeah,
So it sounds like you're playing lead. You're playing some rhythm as well.
right.
So what are your favorite guitars to play? Do you do the switch on often, or do you have one that you like playing most often? What is it?
Me personally, to of course my biggest influence, Mr. Stevie Ray Vaughan, I gravitate solely to Stratocasters first and foremost. But doing a little bit of it all and kind of experimenting, so to speak. I play my share of Gibsons as well, and it's just one of those things where you put a mahogany slab of wood together, throw some electronics, some humbuckers in it, turn up the Marshall or the Bad Cat like I have behind me, and just let it roar, man. Let that thing speak. And I do a switch off between the two, especially playing live.
Mhm.
Just kind of whatever it is in which I'm feeling, at the moment. But in the studio, I kind of tend to gravitate to what's worked for me well in the past, and that's pretty much like my number one strat, my '60s White Relic, and I just love that thing, tried and true. And she's been all over the place with me, man.
Yeah, I just got a relic as well. It's one of the Nam ones that came out a couple years ago. But
Nice.
I was actually going to ask you what your take on the relics were. And I think if they're done tastefully and if you're just honest about it, it looks badass, man. They're just great looking guitars.
When it's all broken down, it's a piece of wood with some electronics on it. And to the extent of any guitar for that matter, whether it be something that's bought like as a starter pack or again, one of these custom relics and custom shops that are done really nice and specced out, I mean, to a T of what rolled out in the line, from Leo Fender in the 50s and 60s. It's if a guitar is set up well, kind of like golf clubs, right? You can take something off the shelf and you can do some damage with it, but if in fact it's set up to you and it feels good to you, I mean, you can do just about anything with it. But some of the work that the guys do, from all these different luthiers and shops like the Fender Custom Shop, and now the Murphy's set of guitars that came out with Gibson. I mean, they're great, man. And I've got nothing against relics. Anybody trying to put a little rock and pizzazz into their own piece of gear, man. It's like hot rodding a car, to each his own.
Yeah, exactly. It gives it that extra edge that if you could buy it, already used, right, and it's natural, awesome.
Right.
That'd be amazing. But you just can't find them, and you like having a little bit more grit in your guitar sometimes. It makes it more fun to play.
Yeah, man, and the natural road wear to them. Like I got a nice late '80s Gibson Custom, that it's a Les Paul I absolutely love, and it had all its natural wear on it up until the point that, of course, I received it, taking it out on the road and done some pretty cool stuff with it. And at first was a little reluctant on wearing like bracelets and rings and
Yeah,
the big contra belt and stuff like that, because I'm like, I don't want to add any more uh, to its demise. I was just like, I want to leave it alone and just put it up on the wall. But these guitars and items like that are meant to be played, and it's going to happen. And all the character that you can put into it, in fact, that's the mojo.
yeah,
And it's got that thing that the next guitar that was set off the line that doesn't sound quite like it, doesn't look quite like it just doesn't have it.
yeah. It's your own personal stamp, and it comes
Yeah,
through in
man,
the playing too, man. It's a set of comfort, it's a set of familiarity for
for
sure.
sure.
So you're talking about going out on the road. So obviously, COVID has been pretty difficult, I would imagine, for a lot of music. What has the last year been like for you guys? And before that, how was it?
Before that, things were moving. Like you said, we've been able to pretty much turn a catalog as far as music in which we can share with the world, right? But yeah, we got out and we did some touring and things were going great. And we had basically released our second EP in February, and it was just like everything kind of came to a halt at that point. And we had some stuff set up to shoot up the Midwest and upwards to Canada, man. And there's a hall somewhere in New York. Don't crucify me on that. But we had a couple of gigs set up out there too as well. And with everything having taken place, and I mean, it is what it is. It came to a halt. But for the last year, of course, we were able to come up with our band's podcast.
Yep.
which was a way to, of course, stay relevant and on people's radar, and just a way for people who we will then go and visit in their own cities to kind of find out and learn a little bit about us, and that's been going great, and still working in the studio and just keeping the wheels turning, man, because you just gotta be ready for any and everything.
For sure. And you mentioned the podcast. So I listened to a few episodes. You gave me the tip on that. And everyone just raves about the setup that you guys have. So I'm curious, what is a podcast setup? It sounds like you got like a studio, you got a bar. What's going on?
Yeah, so we have a studio in which we have set out, where beforehand the object was to actually go in there and use it for doing like acoustic little streaming shows, and taking requests and doing little one-off stuff like that. But then it kind of evolved into the whole podcast thing, and that was just a way to where, like, I mean, we're still gonna maybe introduce the idea and get some acoustic jams going here soon, eventually. Maybe some of the new material that we're in the midst of hashing out at the moment. But it just turned into this whole podcast thing where it's kind of like, well, let's talk about music that, really kind of pulls our chain and inspires us, to where, maybe by looking at one another, you wouldn't think that we listen to certain types of music, for that matter. And that's just the cool thing about that is, one, don't judge a book by its cover, and two, you'd be surprised, what you find out about somebody.
Yeah, let's get into that a little bit because this is like my favorite topic to talk about, people. Because
Yeah,
I'm a rock and roll guy, I'm a heavy metal guy, and people like to put you in a box. But what I always like to say is, there's a music, there's a sound, there's an artist for any mood you're in, and it can range. The range is huge of what you can actually appreciate day to day, and it changes, right? So you talk about folks maybe judging a book by their cover. What are you into? What is that range for you?
as far as music, man, it's one of those things where my first, like, in-depth, like, open door to, if you would, was like blues, straight up blues. And through my oldest brother, I was listening to a lot of like Lighton Hopkins, some Howlin' Wolf, some Lonnie Mack, and all three Kings, Albert, BB, and
Yep.
it just goes on to so much, and to think that as you kind of get into the point to listen to guys like Stevie Raybaugh, and Jimi Hendrix, and Slash, or whomever, all the guitar greats, EBH, they it's crazy how that all kind of came from that one direction, so to speak.
Yeah,
And kind of hearing it all out first, it was just like, oh wow, now I kind of get it. And so I started with all that, and then the whole kind of 80s metal, like earlier on thrash, and then it kind of evolved into the 90s, so to speak, like the whole grunge movement. And again, this is through my oldest brother, where
yeah,
I was kind of getting, firsthand, first dibs of all this as it was happening, not understanding what it was at the time. But it ranges, man. I'm not gonna lie, and I say with music, there's no such thing as like a guilty pleasure, so to speak.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like it is what it is, and if you dig something, hey man, so be it. Take it and run. So I'll throw on some disco, for that matter, from time to time. And just something that's got a groove, something that I can kind of tap my foot to, and kind of just think all these improvised guitar parts, over the top of it, as a guitar player, but a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to judge. I'll listen to anything that my wife's playing or I'm playing or I just hear on the street. You can get inspiration from anything, and you as a
Exactly.
guitarist, like that inspiration translates to you actually creating more art, right? So
Yep.
it's even more important for you to have an open mind.
Right, you have to, man, and I've come across a lot of people who are really good at what they do, whether whatever their craft is, as far as on a stage, for that matter, whether you're playing drums, bass, guitar, vocals, whatever, keys, anything. I just think when you open up that dictionary, so to speak, and you're able to run from one page to the opposite side of the spectrum, it's just like there's so much you can kind of just take in and kind of formulate and make your own.
Yeah,
And it's really important to be open in that aspect, as far as listening to whatever you can get your ears on.
yeah. So, by the way, cheers. I don't think we've done this yet.
Yeah, brother, let's do this,
How you
man.
doing,
Thanks for
man?
having me. This is
What do you
great.
what do you got over there?
Lone Star, brother.
You know what?
I'm in
I
Texas.
I would have been offended if you said anything else. I went down to Austin 2 years ago, and the amount of
Nice.
Lone Stars that I consumed, it's absurd. How do you drink anything
Yeah.
else? It's the best stuff on earth.
My grandpa, my dad's dad worked at the brewery for, gosh, 40 plus years.
No way.
I got some pretty cool artifacts, from belt buckles that were given after the 20, 30, 40 years, of working with the company to jackets that were worn, when the trail rides came in for the stock show and rodeo, and some pretty cool stuff that I've actually even rocked on stage for that matter, and get a lot of people asking questions and stuff like that. And just like music, it's cool to have like a little side, note and just talk about that and, just hash that out. That's really cool to me too.
Yeah, it's a conversation starter for sure. Um,
Definitely.
so, speaking of, you growing up, you mentioned your brother introducing to great music. I'm dying to know, what was your first album or CD for that matter?
I remember really going out and checking out Sam Goody. I don't know if that even exists somewhere up north still, but we don't
Not
really have
anymore.
them here in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's run its circuit. But the actual first CD that I bought, and I remember getting it over at Sam Goody, over at the old Crossroads Mall here in San Antonio, was Sonic Temple from the Cult.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
again, it had already been out for quite some time, but it was me finally getting out and kind of just venturing off, the cuff and just being like, okay, I got like $10, I can go and like just piss it all away at an arcade or something, or I can go out and just grab something that I can listen to myself. And my oldest brother, again, he had an old CD player Walkman type thing, and I just hated the thing because it just felt like the batteries drained on it so damn quick. And I just
Couldn't get
remember,
anywhere.
yeah, man, I just remember thinking going out and just having to get like a physical copy of something that was my own, because God forbid if I grabbed any of his music and I scratched anything, and it was World War III, man.
Yeah.
So I remember going and copying that, and then of course after that was like a greatest hits, like Stevie Raybaugh and stuff like
Yep.
that. But that first album is that Sonic Temple, and Big Ian Asbury, Billy Duffy fan, and
What a
seen
voice.
them a handful of times, and it's just like pretty cool to kind of see it go full circle.
Yeah, I love the Cult. I mean, one of the greatest frontmen, one of the greatest voices for rock and roll ever. It's amazing band, amazing,
Definitely.
good stuff.
Yeah, man.
And I guess in the same vein, I got to get this out of the way. I want to know what your first concert was.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Like
it's
a
funny
big
that
name, right? Because you're in Texas, so I'm sure you guys got live music everywhere, right? But I'm talking about, headliner, big name band.
it's funny that you asked that, man, because I don't know, gosh, it was maybe the last or the previous episode on our podcast, which again, go out and check that out if you can. Uh, we talked about it. It was something that wasn't even in the cards, but it was
Yep.
just like, right, quick, man, round table, first, show, whatever. And my first actual real big rock show was the Cult.
Oh, no way.
Go figure. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it was one of those things where, it just happened. It just happened. It just happened. And it was really cool at a time to where that again was a great show in the sense of like production.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that engulfs everything, from sound, from the lights, there was some pyro going on, the drum riser just seemed like to the sky. And then of course, seeing Billy Duffy get on out there and just his overall presence, man, where, Pete Townsend's not the only guitar player who does a huge
Yeah,
windmill effect. Billy Duffy gets out there with the long stretch, and he's just, I mean, letting it go. And it's so cool to hear these things, and then finally kind of just put that visual to it and catch it live. And I'm one of those guys where, regardless, man, I'll go and check out Motley Crue tomorrow, and in my head, they're the same bad boys off the Sunset Strip from the mid to late '80s. To me, man, at least, and but that was them, and it was a great show. And God, I just wish I was like it was like now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah. You
like
could appreciate it more, man.
definitely for sure.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I've seen Maiden in the last 5 years. I
Nice.
saw Dio when Dio was getting up there in age. I saw
Nice.
Motorhead when they were getting old. And it doesn't matter if they get older, as long as they still put on a great show. And they're not just mailing it in. That's all I
That's
care
it,
about.
brother.
You
That's
know?
it. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
All right. Cool, man. So I think let's switch gears a little bit.
Cool.
I want to come back to the band. We'll do that at the end. But as I mentioned in the beginning, you are obviously a musician, great band, make great music. But what brought us together, at least at this point, is the golf aspect as well. And you are a golf fiend. You love playing. You tag us in videos, which I appreciate. I love it when customers and fans tag us when they're wearing our gear and out there on the links. and you're pretty good. It seems like. So let's talk a little bit about golf. How'd you get into the sport? Because a lot of people are always surprised. You know, golf has, I don't want to say it. Yeah, it kind of has like a stigma, right? Where people still think of like the stereotypical waspy, country club guy who's playing golf with, when he's off the course, he's got the sweater tied around him, not on.
Right. Right.
So, tell us a little bit more about how you got into the game.
Well, my father plays, still does, 74 years old, goes out there, plays maybe 3 or 4 rounds a week for that matter.
Okay.
And I mean, shoots relatively well. The guy can break 80 and go out there and, have a really good day. And then some days he's kind of going through the motions, but hey, that's all of us. So through my father and my two older brothers, they're the ones in which, from being, the range rats and just one of them doing something with golf, like basically felt like at all times. Yeah, man, they're the ones that just haven't seen them growing up doing it. It was kind of like, oh, well, let me try that. And I think the whole competitive nature, that kind of, I guess, runs deep in the family was just like, you know what? Well, all right, I'm going to get good enough and, I'm going to kind of take you guys out kind of sort of thing. And, it's pretty cool how that worked out.
Yeah. How old were you when you started playing?
I was 6, man.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, and I can
Very smart.
remember that, brother. That's weird, right? I remember seeing live like shows, as far as music shows here locally, like at that tender age around 7 or 8, and going out to the golf course and like first, second grade, and sometimes, playing hooky to go out, when my dad's got a money game going on, just to ride in the cart and just taking the whole experience.
Yeah. So 6, I would imagine you're older than 16, right? So you got at least 10, 15 years in you that you've been playing, right? So let's talk a little bit. Your dad's breaking 80.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good. At what point did you beat your dad, or can you beat your dad yet?
Yes, man. And to take it a little bit further into depth, I've been playing for about 27 years.
All
So,
right.
but as far as that, yeah, when I started really turning in some good scores, and, graduating off into like playing like 18 for that matter, and kind of staying away from the par threes and doing the range work, so to speak. I started shooting probably mid to low 80s at, gosh, 11 or 12 or so.
Yeah.
And it was when I got into middle school that, I was going out there and I was hitting the ball and, some good, decent distance wise. And, just kind of everything was falling into place at that time. But, yeah, I do, I'm the better golfer in the family. That's safe to say.
Your
And
brothers as
I
well. You got
started,
the crown now?
oh, I've had the crown. I've had the crown, I was busting drives, 3+ man, when I was probably like 7th or 8th grade, right around there. And of course, as I grew up and just height and weight kind of was playing into effect. Your swing kind of takes some changes, so to speak, and never had a lesson or anything, but was able to make the most of it, and still to this day. But I took the crown over, I'd probably say about 7th grade.
7th grade.
And yeah,
You've
I was
held
a
on to
stud
it
in the
since
family.
then.
Yeah,
And you said you have 2 brothers, right?
2 older brothers. Yes,
Both play.
both play.
So tell me about the Jimenez foursome. Like, what is that? What are you guys doing when all 4 of you guys are on a course? How crazy is that?
It's great, man. Going out there, with all of us having our own, individual lives, of course, it's a great time to, go out, for instance, where my dad's from, little small town, Luling, Texas, not too far from, Austin for that matter. And, we'll go out there to the little 9-hole executive course that they have that you play from 2 different tees
Okay.
and make a day out of it and just bullshit about any and everything. And golf's one of those things where, if you take it too serious, man, you treat every round like it's your last, and the fact that you're there with family, having a great time, it beats being at work. About as good a feeling for me as being on stage playing music, but you take it in stride, man, and it's fun. We're just out there having fun.
So how often do you get to play?
Me, well, fortunately, my girlfriend, she's a stick, man. She played collegiately, here locally.
Hey, all right.
And we try to get out and do something with golf 3 or 4 days a week, and on a good week, at least twice out playing 18. So I try to get out there as much as possible,
I mean, it's all about the reps, and to be able to do that much, that is awesome. It
man. It
helps when you
is,
have a
man.
girlfriend that plays too, right? Because it's not
Definitely.
It's not like she's waiting for you to get home, or it's not like she has other plans. Like, we both want to
Right.
play. That's the perfect scenario.
It's cool. She loves the music. She goes out to some of the gigs that I've done, like these one-offs here over the past 4 or 5 months, and she just full of energy, man. And it's one of those things where that vibe, man. You just take it to where the golf course, or out in to a stage, and it's just like it's a great feeling.
What is what would be better for you if you were to have to shoot your lowest score, okay, your lowest score ever, or to sell out a pretty good show? What would be the bigger highlight for you if it was on the same day? If you went out in the morning, you shot your lowest score, then you go to the venue at night getting ready to play, and you find out the place sold out, right? It's max
Yeah.
capacity. What's a
Right.
better feeling for you?
Ah, man. Well, for me, I would have to say the music. And the reason why is because, again, I've played shows in front of, I think the most I've ever played in front of is like 10 or 12,000 people. And then I've played venues to where I'm playing in front of like bar backs and security.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? But the thing about that is even playing in front of, let's just say 20 or 30 people, those 20 or 30 people, man, you're actually reaching out, and showing a sense of you that's, really personal, and when you connect like that, whether if they, take it and run in the sense of looking you guys up, or just sharing it with another person, to where, you just have that trickle effect, man. And by the time you know it, you've reached out to, a pretty large group of people for that matter. And that's what I think is so special about that. But, my, not to get off the question right there, but my lowest round has been a 67. And
Oh,
I've actually done that 4 times.
wow.
So I've kind of shared that, and I love that. And I plan to do it tomorrow actually. But for the most part, I think I'd probably not be so selfish and say, choose that music road.
Right, right. So 67, that's great, man. I mean, you're
Yeah.
a bona fide golfer. You are a bona fide golfer. So what's the strongest part of your game? It sounds like you crush the ball, right? You say you've been doing that for a while, but what's the strongest, what's the weakest part of your game as a golfer?
You know what, man? I think I'd say the strongest aspect of my game would probably be like the confidence, you
Yeah.
know? And the thing about that is just like when, I talk to my dad or my brothers or my girlfriend about it, it's pretty simple. You've gone out and you've hit all these shots before,
Yeah.
but can you in fact tie them together to pretty much the end result of however many least amount of strokes you can possibly put in a round off?
Yep.
So it's not so much about like, oh, well, it's the short game is kind of what bothers me or whatever. I look at it as like, it's like riding a bike. You've done it before. It's just a matter of getting back up on there. You can hug a couple more turns, a little tighter than others, just again with the confidence of just going out and doing so. But yeah, strength wise, aside from confidence, is my t-ball game. I can go up there and I've had some pretty good control as far as the driver is concerned. I like shot like shaping, so to speak.
Yep.
And I guess because not much of us in fact can hit the ball straight. But I've kind of go with the flow and learn how to manipulate the ball in that sense. But yeah, as far as with a club in hand, where you tend to be a little rusty more so than others, is like the short game, for instance.
Yep.
But again, man, when you're beefed up and you put the ball in play again, it's 300 plus, and you got a small wedge into the green, you stick it, you're gonna go up there with all the confidence in the world, with the hole looking like that big, and of course make your best attempt.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love the answer of confidence, right? Because the mental aspect of the game is so huge.
Huge.
And what you said about, I've made all these shots. It's a matter of stringing them together. That's the number one thing. I mean,
Yeah, man.
I got a buddy I play with, and he'll hit a bad shot, and then he'll crush one down the fairway, 300 yards, and he'll always say, "Same golfer. It's the same golfer."
That's it, man.
And
That's
it's so
it.
true. You have all the shots in your bag if you've been practicing and you know what you're capable of.
Right.
Consistency is the number one part of the game. It's most difficult, but you can't let that get to you, right?
Yeah.
So, what's in your bag? I'm dying to know if you're playing as often as you do, right? It seems
Yeah.
like you got a pretty good grasp of your clubs, right? And a
Right.
pretty good grasp of what you like, what you don't like, what your shots do. So, tell
Right.
me a bit about what you're playing these days.
My bag's just right there, right behind me. Everything
I thought
full.
there was a guitar in that. You know, it's next to the guitar case. There's another guitar hiding in there.
Yeah, yeah, man, it's chilling there in the corner. The inspiration wall for me. Just like you have that nice setup there right behind you, which
Right,
looks
right.
very inviting, nice and warm.
Yeah, man.
That's like my little section here. But all full on, full bore Titleist, and yeah, as far as everything goes and is concerned, it's a little hybrid match, so to speak, from blade to a combo set that I've been using, and it's just one of those things where I'm one of those guys where, for instance, like gear in music, it's kind of like if it's not broke, don't fix.
Yep.
And again, you know it as well as I do. You're a golfer. The seasons change year to year, and there's that new sim driver, which is the sim 2, and then the sim 3,
And they're
and
all
now
the
we're
best
on.
one ever. Magically, they're all the best one ever.
Yes, and guaranteed an extra additional 10 to 15 yards. And it's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, at this point, we don't got to look like, no offense, Bryson DeChambeau out there trying to go for broke, but we should be hitting the ball that long anyways if they've been saying that, you
Right.
know.
No, you're
Um,
not wrong.
yeah, dude. But that's basically been it. And but the favorite club in the bag is an old Newport 2 Scotty Cameron that I've got that I've had for, oh boy, God knows, at least 15, 16 years now.
Almost as
And
long as Tiger's that is, right?
yeah, man. And the cool thing about that is it's got an old ping pistol grip on there, like Tiger would normally
Yeah,
play. And that thing is so slick and worn out that it feels like leather. And
yeah,
I love it. And everyone that I've come across and they see the putter and they're like, hey, man, can I roll some with that? I'm like, yeah, yeah, go share it, no problem. And they're like, oh, man, you should put like a super stroke or something on there. And I'm like, brother, I've been running tight with this guy for a while. And, it's done me well. And it's just like, again, thanks, but no thanks.
yeah. Actually, I have that grip. I put that grip on one of my Odyssey clubs just 'cause I love it so much. Just feels right, you know?
Yeah, hey, to each his own, man.
The
Yeah,
super strokes are great, and I have a super stroke on my current putter, but that just feels perfect, that grip that you're
yeah,
talking
man, for sure.
so it's topical for me, so I have to ask you, I'm getting my first fitting in 5 years. So new clubs, first time in 5 years. How long have you had your clubs?
Well, I have like 3 or 4 different sets of clubs.
Yeah.
I still got the first set of clubs that I actually ever broke par with, and it's a set of Mizuno MP33s.
Nice.
And yeah, I've growing up, it was one of those things where my father always played blades, and it was one of those things where it was like, that's a man's club right there.
Right,
If
right.
you can hit this under pure this, you see the face on it, and the sweet spot as small as it is. If you can't hit those, you don't need to be playing. Well, also at a time where he was growing, watching golf as it became, televised and whatnot, they were all using, 4 irons and 5 irons that were about yay big anyway. So you
Yeah.
had to really pure the shot almost every time in order to get any kind of result. But yeah, I still have those. But this set that I have particularly, gosh, I probably put it together about maybe 2.5 years ago or so. And it's been my workhorse, and things are great, man.
Yeah. All right. So so you're playing at least 2 times a week, 2 to 4 times a week. Belong to a club, or what's your favorite spots to hit up near you?
So down here in San Antonio, we have what's called the Alamo Golf Trails, and basically it's like the Muni courses, right? And we got quite a bit of selection, and we are definitely lucky to be able to play them year round for that matter. We don't have any seasons that kind of put a block and tamper on any of that for that matter. But yeah, man, I go out and my girlfriend and I, we like to play some of the nicer courses, so to speak, like the Quarry, which is it's a links course,
Hmm.
and they got a bunch of the native grass that is, I mean, pretty heavy to where it's like, okay, yeah, there's no trees out here, but if you in fact miss an errant tee shot 10 or 15 yards off the fairway,
Yeah,
it's
man.
like you're in trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a track that's out here, Brackenridge, that used to host the Texas Open, and it's a great course, man, and I basically grew up on it.
Yeah.
So I try to get out there, give or take, at least 3 or 4 times a month, if that helps. So it's a great track. It's a shot shaping course, especially off the tee, very old school.
Mhm.
And yeah, man, that's my track.
Is that your favorite track, or what's your favorite course you played?
My favorite course here, I'd probably say, is in fact the Quarry.
Yep.
And that's one of those courses that, 9 times out of 10, if you're hitting the ball well, you're going to get rewarded because the greens are always rolling nicely. And there's nothing more frustrating than, playing your ass off, man, and going out there and you got these spotty, patchy greens, and it's kind of like, okay, well, I know it's give or take, right? Golf's a game of breaks, but it's nice and rewarding to get the benefit of playing some nice greens.
For sure. And what is, I guess, your dream golf trip? Since we're on the subject of golf courses, right? So if you go
Yeah,
anywhere in the world, we know where the PGA Tour stops and where the WGC stops. Where's your dream location?
I tell you what, man. I'm going to Scotland. The home of golf.
Got to do
You
it.
know,
Got to do it.
first golf course known, to man, and it's just like that right there is the birthplace, the mecca. And you're talking about links courses and the quarry being one of those where it plays not up to standards of what, of course, going out and playing a true links course, but you get an idea.
Yeah.
And to go up there and play with just that muggy, dewy weather, and to just see how test against all the greats that have come through and played that same exact course, and that would be right there for me, like the ultimate like bucket list golf, you know, knock it out, man. Let's do it.
I think it's got to be. It's got to be for most people, right? I mean,
Yeah, for sure, for
so where
sure.
it all started for me, like the Open is my second favorite major. Masters
Okay,
number one for me, just because
the Masters,
you can't say history. I was about to say history, but history is the Open and those
for
courses.
sure, man, for
But
sure.
they do a good job marketing here in the U.S. But the Open is my second favorite tournament. I look forward to it every year. You got so many legends that have played it and then won it multiple times. It's amazing. It's amazing. Have you played any like major courses that they play in the tour here in the U.S.?
Yeah, well, fortunately, I've gotten a chance to go play over like at Oak Hills here in
Okay.
San Antonio, where they used to host the Texas Open, and then from there they moved it over to La Cantera.
Mm.
I've been on that track several times, and as well now where we play the Texas Open over at um the Oaks course at the JW Marriott. It's a great course, and actually got a chance about 2 years ago to play it the week following when the guys were there, and they still have grandstands up. And
Yeah,
man, I tell you what, it's it's crazy
yeah.
when they put those courses into the shape for them to go through. And gosh, it might have been the year. Actually, take it back. It was one where I believe Adam Scott had won it,
Okay.
and man, that course was just,
Great.
oh god, it was crazy, man. Like you can hit a really good drive, and if in fact you don't catch the upper tiers and with all the undulation to where it's like you're off the fairway, you
Yep.
know what I mean? And it's just like the whole course management thing. It's you got to have that there. If not, I mean, you're out there having a good time regardless, because you're not going to go and turn out no 4 or 5 under there. But
Right.
you like to think so. But yeah, man, it's fun playing on those courses.
Yeah, it was that. So I grew up in Bethpage. So
Oh
I've,
man.
I've been around. I started playing later in life, right? So when I was
Okay.
younger, I didn't really get to appreciate it when the first couple of opens were there. But I played Bethpage Black
Jeez.
the year before, not the year. The PGA was what 2 years ago. So I played it about 3 months before the PGA was played, and 3 months before the PGA was being ready to be played, the rough was already like 8 inches long. It was
Sure, man.
and then I don't know if you remember the PJ, a couple years back, but I think they let it grow out to like almost a foot. But
For sure. Yeah.
greenside rough was insane. You could drop an Arnold Palmer bottle, and they have the YouTube videos of it, and like the thing would disappear.
It's amazing.
It's absolutely crazy. So being able to play those courses, as you said, whether it's the rafters, and being able to see how amazing like this whole setup is, and just how daunting it is for these pros when they actually go out there and play it, just the
Yeah.
conditions,
Yo.
something else, man. Something
And
else.
that's one of those cool things where you go out there, or you just see it on TV for that matter, and you got all the spotters that are all out located, and they can kind of like just point us like, oh, it's right here, or whatever. And then you go out there and you got the general vicinity as far as where you hit the ball, oh yeah, it peeled off this tree or whatever. And then you get up there and you're like, where is it? And it's pretty amazing, man, to see those courses, one on TV, and then two to actually experience that. Bethpage Black, that since Tiger's tremendous win, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, man, I like how the muni courses that are played in the PGA, like these people take it to another length, and it's just like that'd be nice to just even walk for that matter, like Pebble Beach, just get out there and walk it.
Have you played Pebble?
I've not, but I've actually I've gone by Torrey Pines and actually hit some golf balls on the range, so
Yep.
that was pretty cool. But didn't get a chance to actually saddle up.
Yeah, I've played twice, and it was just absolutely incredible, man. So you have to make the trip. It's awesome. Number one for the golf, and obviously you have world class golf courses. You have Spanish Bay, you have Spyglass, you have Pebble, obviously you have Cypress, and they're all like it's Disneyland for adults. Is what I like to say. It's a
Oh, for sure.
wonderful location. You got all these amazing courses, great bars, great restaurants. It's the most amazing place on earth. So highly
Yeah,
recommend it, man. Highly recommend it.
definitely.
So I'm
That's
curious, do you get to play with your any of your bandmates play?
surprisingly, all of them do. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
yeah, man. And we actually went out to the range not that long ago, and I mean, they understand, the jargon and somewhat of the etiquette, and understand, like you said, the stigma about like the gentleman's game, to where we can't be the way in which we'd be like at a bar or at a show, so to speak. So they respect that, but it's cool, man. They get out there and they have a good time, and again, it's just all about having a good time.
Yeah, and that's spot on. So even with Fury Golf, like what we're trying to do is the stuff that we put out on the course. We want to respect the game because we're
For
golfers,
sure,
right? So we
for
want to
sure.
respect tradition. But the stuff that's off the course, a little bit more edgy. We got a little bit more skulls, a little bit more in your face. But the things that you're wearing on the course, like we never want someone to wear our stuff and go out on a beautiful course, a private course, and like have people looking at it like, what's this guy wearing? So it's a balance that we're trying to achieve by respecting the game, but also helping you kind of feel authentic to yourself and kind of put your own stamp on your approach to golf as maybe an alternative styled golfer.
Definitely, definitely, for sure.
So I'm curious now. We're talking about a very good musician. You and your bandmates play. A lot of music, a lot of golf. If you were to pick your dream foursome, okay, let's go with
Nice.
musicians that you would put in your dream foursome, alive or dead. Okay, and I want to know why. I want to know what they bring to the table
Nice.
when you guys are out there and play.
Well, first off, first and foremost, man, whether it be anything like a dream conversation or a dream jam session playing music, or now even golf for that matter, first person I got to pick is Stevie Raybaugh.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I owe any and everything to Mr. Stevie and his family, who, his brother Jimmy, that I've met and talked to a handful of times for that matter. Great, great guy. Um, that's the reason why I play music, man. And he's the reason that made me want to pick up guitar in the first place. So definitely, for sure, I'd have to have Stevie in there for not only just that reason or whatever, but growing up here in San Antonio and taking, the short, voyage to Austin, which you mentioned earlier, and checking out so many different great artists and so much hidden talent, that I've actually spoke to people who knew Stevie firsthand, and having all these conversations with them and just being all ears to this man and just being in like La La Land with these guys talking about him. I kind of almost feel like I know him. You
yeah.
know what I mean? That sounds weird, but
Oh, the
I kind
legend
of feel
lives
like
on, man.
yeah, dude, for sure. So it'd be cool to always just be in his company, even out on the golf course, which again, man, fusing my two ultimate passions together, that would be great. So first off would be Stevie. Second off, gosh, it's hard to believe that's already been 6 months, but Eddie Van Halen, another guy who was a big avid golfer, did quite a bit, as far as, not hiding it and just being all out and about with it, man. And the guy was just the needle in the haystack, as far as not so much reinventing the wheel, so to speak, but just kind of bringing to the forefront of, why a lot of us musicians or guitar players or just music lovers, really love music, in general. So definitely, I'd like to have him out on the golf course and, just talk any and everything for that matter, music and golf. And I bet him and Stevie could have some conversations like you wouldn't believe. So again, man, just to be ears in on that, that would be just totally awesome. And the last person, I've actually talked to him about doing so, but Scott Phillips, who's the drummer for former Creed and now Alter
Yeah,
Bridge.
yeah.
I've actually hung out with him, man, had some beers with him at some local shows in which we're done here in San Antonio. And I was actually going to be heading up to Houston. They had a show that next day at the House of Blues. And he was like, man, if we can get back in time and, I'm not too hungover or whatnot. He goes, there's a possibility that I might go and scoop up a rental set and just, going out there and have some fun. He goes, usually the call for us is until about 6 o'clock to go hit a sound check and get out there and get ready for the night. But I in fact had work the next day and just a bunch of things played into effect. So if in fact this gets put up, we definitely got to do a shout out to Scott Phillips and Alter Bridge, and maybe when the Rambling Souls hash out this full length, we can maybe buy on one of their tours and go out there and play golf at every stop, and have a good time out there on the stage too as well.
100%. I was going to ask you, when you guys have been able to tour, do you bring clubs? Do you try to get out wherever you guys go?
So as far as that, I don't take my clubs out unless it's like a quick, fly out, like one-off date or whatever, to where I can kind of put like a 2-3 day spin on things.
Yeah.
Just for the luxury aspect of that. But when we're out and about, and we have some pretty good legs as far as 12 to 15 shows, which we're hammering out in a total of like 22 days. So the time off in between is not a whole lot to take the sticks. But if we get to our destination maybe late that night, to where we have the whole full on day ahead of us, shit, man, I've taken an Uber to a driving range for that matter, and just to kind of like soak in a different atmosphere, and just breathe in some different air, man, and just be out and about, and a different element, but an element that I'm kind of somewhat familiar with.
Right.
Just beat some balls out on the range, man. Yeah, exactly. And for me, that's one of those things to where, I'm one of those guys where, I understand. And at first, when I started going off and playing a lot of shows, I would take some literature, man. I would take some books out to read, while I'm out and about, and just chilling and basking out in Mother Nature. But to me, it was kind of like one of those things where, I'm just taking a step further. Let me connect with her, but at the same time, do something that I really, really love. And then I just got to pinch myself, because I'm like, man, we're out here and, for instance, San Diego, I don't know, where, Vegas, wherever. But we're playing a show tonight with a kick-ass band at a kick-ass venue, and I'm on the golf course right now. That's awesome, man. But when I do get a chance, try to take the clubs. If not, I'm cool with just sucking back on a 6-iron or whatever, and just going out and just being out there.
Yeah. So what has been your favorite all-time show with Rambling Souls? I know that you guys haven't been around for too long, but it sounds like you guys have definitely been able to do some touring and hit some spots. I've read about some big shows that you've done, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. So what's been your favorite show?
Fortunately for us, man, in this outfit, we've been able to cover some miles. But the best show and my favorite show to point would definitely be the Mint in LA. The famed Mint. There you basically got Doug Weston's Troubadour, Whiskey Go Go, and of course the Mint's up there, and it's one of those things where it's just like you want to knock out all of those, if you can, if you're lucky enough. But the Mint was definitely a really cool experience. We met a lot of great bands out there, a lot of just great people who just not only in music, but aside from music, we came across a good buddy in Lance Wilder, who's one of the animation guys who works for The Simpsons through Fox.
Yep.
And, kept in contact with him. And just, yeah, man, that for me was like the spot for our band. It really, we turned some heads up there being this rock band from San Antonio. Yeah. And, it left a good taste in their mouths, and ours too as well.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So, looking to 2021 and beyond, it looks like we're making a turn with this pandemic, right? Things starting getting pretty much back to normal. At least it seems that way. What are the plans for the band? What do you guys got coming up? I know I checked you out online. I think you posted something the other day of you guys being in the studio and working on things. So, what's coming up for the band? What should we get excited about?
So, again, like you mentioned, we're in the studio and we're wrapping up things right now to where we're not quite to post, so to speak, but we're, 75% of the way through, if you will, of getting out the full length. And, once that's said and done, man, we, a lot of the lines in which we had touched to go out and do this, some extensive touring over this past year, are kind of just keeping us in the back pocket. Like, okay, well, when things, in fact, tend to ease up a little more, Texas kind of almost seems as if we're already there. But, once everybody else,
Texas, right? I mean, you guys are
man.
pretty.
Yeah, we're already out doing, acoustic duo gigs and just stuff to kind of just get back out there. Yeah, man. So yeah, once we get the green light, and talking to some of these agencies that they're like, hey, can you bring it down in here and here and here? We'll follow it up with some extensive touring, and aside from that, just kind of keep the whole podcast thing going, of course. And the thing about that is, we that's mobile, so we can take that on the road with us, to where we can kind of just, again, man, for the podcast sake of being out on the road, it's kind of like we can bring, our families and friends here from home with us as well. So everyone's in it and having a good time. So that's just hopefully what to look for here in the near future. And again, like you said, man, as soon as we get the okay and, all systems a go, it should be good.
Yeah, man, the podcasting is huge just because you see all these comedians who have their own podcasts, right?
Yeah.
So number one, it's a great way for them to be able to work out ideas and try
Yeah.
some comedy. But more importantly than that, once you get a following, then you could start basically selling out your own shows. You don't really need to lean on anybody else once you get a large enough following. So for
Right.
you guys who have done that and be working at it, and it's a good product, I've listened to it. That's amazing.
Right.
It's only going to pay dividends. So with that, man, I want you to tell everyone who's watching this, everyone who's listening to this, where they could find the Rambling Souls, where they could find you, where they could find the podcast. I'm not saying it because you and I are face to face right now in this
Yeah.
this video, but I love the band. I love what you guys are doing. We're going to promote the hell out of it. We would love to include the music in this podcast. We'll figure out if we can do it.
Definitely.
Add you guys to our playlist that we have on the website and that people download. So without further ado, come on, let everyone know where they can find you guys.
Yeah, man. So the Rambling Souls, San Antonio, Texas. You can find us on the handles, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, or just check out the ramblingsouls.com. We're going to be actually doing some pretty cool updates and changing things up to where it's pretty much day to day. So that way you're in the news as far as what is in which we have coming up and release dates, for instance, like the music, and then upcoming shows. And as far as me, at Gabe Jimenez .87, on Instagram, or just search me there up on Facebook, whatever platform for that matter. And then again, the Rambling Souls music is streaming on all major platforms, so easy accessible. And I believe for the podcast, you can either just search the Rambling Souls podcast, but I believe who we go through for distribution on that is the Discord server. So you can just search it through that, man, and you'll get our episodes as soon as we upload them, and we'll be in your face.
Awesome, man. I love it. So thank you very much for doing this, Gabe. I know we're coming up on time here. It's been a great conversation. Love getting to know you a little bit better. Kind of depressed. You're shooting 67s, single handicapper. I'm not quite there, but I think you're going to get some DMs like, hey, man, we need a ringer for this tournament that we got next week in Texas.
Hey, brother, I'm always down for scrambles, man, and a good time. And I tell you what, just right quick, I'm actually going to be heading up to Nashville and not too long because things are getting a little better there. Yep. And meeting up with the guys from the Switch Lock, who's a company that I've been working with, to possibly kind of join in and or do a scramble, man, and maybe play some honky tonks along the way. But I tell you what, just as easy it is for me to get there, I can make it up to New York because I am a Yankees fan, by the way. I don't know, Yankees or Mets, who?
I'm pretty down the middle when it comes to baseball. I don't really pick favorites. I want them to win. If it's Yankees versus Mets, I'll probably go Yankees. Football, I'm a diehard Jet fan, though. Unfortunately.
That was my next question. Yeah. Giants, what are we going with?
I'm Jets diehard, almost to the point where I'm a complete giant hater. It's just, it is what it is.
Oh man, right on. I follow the Titans. I'm a Tennessee Titan fan, and that was just from the family having jump ship from Houston and the Oilers. So as far as that's concerned. But yeah, man, I mean, I'd love to even maybe make the trip up there to New York and hang out, and maybe we shoot one of these segments over out of that Bethpage. Who knows?
Would love to do it.
That'd be awesome.
We'll connect on that, man. But thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, guys. Please check out the Rambling Souls. Check out Gabe. You're gonna love the music. I guarantee it. And that's it. Take it easy, guys.
Thanks a lot, brother.
All right.